Hey guys, welcome back to our video series on advanced microeconomics where we talk about a whole overview on monopoly. In this video, we're going to talk about an overview of price discrimination and provide a basic analytical framework by which we can go and analyze different sorts of price discrimination. Let's go. So, what is price discrimination? Price discrimination is the practice of a firm charging different prices to different individuals or groups of consumers due to its ability to separate markets. If a monopolist is able to separate markets by any degree, it will allow for the opportunity to increase profits when compared to a case where he can't. In general, there are three different forms of price discrimination. These are first degree price discriminations, which is discrimination across the quantity demanded and the group of individuals demanding that quantity. There's second degree price discrimination, which is discrimination based on the quantity demanded. And then there's third degree price discrimination, which is price discrimination based on different groups of people. So on this slide, I just made a little useful table, just showing a table of all the different types of price discrimination and some examples of where we can see each of these types of price discriminations. For first degree price discrimination, some examples include private school tuition and airline tickets. Second degree is obviously like quantity discounts, such as bulk discounts and whatever. And third degree is discounts on like for seniors or for students. So you're able to go and separate high and low demand groups. So now that we have a conceptual idea of how these forms of price discrimination work, we want to know how we can compute firm profits for each of these forms of price discrimination. This is important because we want to have a framework by where we can evaluate the effectiveness of one form of price discrimination when compared to another one. So the common framework which we will be using for analyzing each of these forms of price discrimination will be the following. Step number one, we're going to be considering a monopolist producing for two potential consumers. Two is said since we're assuming that our monopolist can separate its market into two parts, and potential is said because our consumers could choose not to consume. And they choose using quasi-linear preferences indicated by ui of x, meaning that the utility from consumption of good x plus y, which is all other goods. So this is the total utility. This is the total utility for consumer I for each consumer indicated by I, which is 1 and 2, since there's two consumers. We're going to normalize ui to be equal to 0 when x is equal to 0. And we're also going to say that there's this ri, right, function, right, of x is going to indicate the maximum willingness to pay for good x. So it follows based on these facts that we can go and identify what exactly this function is going to be when it's evaluated at 0. It's going to be ui of x minus ri as a function of x plus y. So this is going to be really the difference between the utility function and the maximum willingness to pay, and really they're the same thing based on what we've done with our normalization. It should be noted as well that each consumer must solve the following utility maximization problem and solve for the following demands. And it follows that from our first order conditions, which we already know, that the marginal utility from consumption of good X is equal to price. That's what we have for our first order condition for a problem. We will also assume that one consumer has a higher willingness to pay than other. This is communicated by the fact that the U2, right, that the consumption for consumer 2 is the utility is greater than the consumption from consumer 1 for all X. So we are indicating that there is a high demand consumer and a low demand consumer. So consumer 2 is a high demand consumer and consumer 1 is our low demand consumer. So we went over all of our overview of price discrimination, and this is our basic analytical framework which we will be using to analyze first degree price discrimination, second degree price discrimination, and third degree price discrimination. I will see you in the next video.